Good morning, Judge Reyes. Feel free to take a seat, and you can begin your comments as you are ready.
Thank you. Well, good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I want to start by saying thank you. Thank you for your service to the Nominating Commission here today, and thank you for the time that you've given to me personally and to all of the other candidates. I know it's time-consuming, and I just want to assure you that we all really appreciate your time and your efforts. My name is Maggie Reyes, and for those of you I haven't met already, I'll start by telling you that I've been married to my husband for 26 years, so I have a sense of humor. I'm a mom to a 21-year-old business student at Iowa State University who has absolutely no interest whatsoever in the law, very unimpressed, and I'm a mom to a few very spoiled fur babies. And while I could easily talk about my family for the next 20 minutes, what you want to know is whether or not I'm the right fit for an appointment to the Court of Appeals. That's why we're here. So I'll give you a few reasons why I believe that I am and why I'm asking for your consideration today. First, my appointment would provide geographic diversity to the court. Second, I would bring a unique and diverse legal background to the court. And third, I have a demonstrated history of hard work and public service. As you know from my application, I currently serve as a district court judge in the 4th Judicial District. The 4th covers 9 counties in the little southwest corner of Iowa. I primarily office in Council Bluffs, but I live about 20 minutes south of Council Bluffs in a rural area of Mills County. That's important for a couple reasons. First, no one from the 4th Judicial District has served on the Court of Appeals, so my appointment would provide geographic diversity on the current court. Second, while I live and I work in Southwest Iowa, I've served on many statewide commissions or committees for the Supreme Court, for the Judges Association, the Bar Association, and the County Attorneys Association. I've also given presentations at several statewide conferences for the County Attorneys Association, the Judges Conference, and to new judges. This service has given me a statewide perspective on the legal profession and shows a demonstrated history of working to improve the legal profession for all Iowans. I would also bring a broad and unique range of professional and legal experience to the Court of Appeals. I've represented both business and government organizations during my career. Within those organizations, I've represented real people concerning employment and real estate matters. I've drafted contracts, reviewed leases, maintained corporate filings, and dealt with a variety of government issues such as open meetings, public records, public bidding, civil service, and I've briefed hundreds of criminal and post-conviction issues, among many other responsibilities. As a district court judge, I've gained experience in the types of cases that comprise 70% of the Court of Appeals' current caseload. I understand that the cases that come before me aren't just legal puzzles to be solved, but that they involve real people looking to the court system for justice, or at least a fair resolution to their problem. As a judge, I've made difficult decisions that I wished I didn't have to make, but which the law required. I've sentenced individuals to prison while tears streamed down both the defendant's face and the face of his or her victims. These moments, like many others, are sobering and humbling. As I've discussed with many of you, my first couple of years as a district court judge felt like trying to drink from that proverbial fire hose. It was overwhelming, humbling, and dare I say, character building. I even had to Google a few of the courthouses for directions just to get to hearings. But when faced with the challenges of being a new judge, I learned that with humility, hard work, and a positive outlook, things get better, and I got better. Over the past 5 years, I've worked hard to increase my knowledge in areas of the law that I had not previously practiced, such as family law and probate law, so that I could issue rulings more quickly and efficiently. Experience and hard work have made me a better district court judge and also make me immediately productive on the Court of Appeals. I would also bring what I like to call a collegial tenacity to the Court of Appeals. And what I mean by that is that I enjoy digging in and working hard to accomplish a mission while maintaining a smile or a kind word for others. I truly believe that you can disagree without being disagreeable. I developed this Iowa nice work ethic growing up in a small town where I weeded bean fields every summer and by waiting tables at my uncle's restaurant business in Omaha during college and law school. My legal work at the Omaha Housing Authority ignited my love of serving others through the practice of law, which I was blessed to continue in Iowa during my 15 years at the Potawatomi County Attorney's Office and now 5 years as a district court judge. As a district court judge, my cases involve people from all walks of life, both urban and rural, who are represented by attorneys from large firms, small firms, solo practitioners, and frequently are regular Iowans representing themselves. No matter who comes before me or why, my decisions are made without fear, favor, affection, or hope of reward to the best of my knowledge and ability, as these are the obligations of my judicial oath. Finally, I've talked with many of you about the importance I place on civility, integrity, and confidence in our courts. As a judicial officer, I believe it is my responsibility to be a good role model by donating time in my community, to the courts, to my profession, to my colleagues, and by doing my part to educate others, whether Girl Scouts or law students, about the important role that independent courts play in a civil society. I want to assure you that if appointed to the Court of Appeals, I would continue my commitment to public service and to administering justice equally to all Iowans. In closing, I want to share a quote that hangs on my computer, which says, "Success is no accident. It is hard work, perseverance, learning, studying, sacrifice, and most of all, love of what you're doing or learning to do." This is the kind of dedication and roll up your sleeves work ethic that I would bring to the Court of Appeals and why I'm asking for your consideration today. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions you might have for me.
Thank you, Judge. We'll start with Commissioner Hartkoff.
Good to see you, Judge. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
being here today. You spent a significant amount of your time in the Potawatomi County Attorney's Office.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about why that experience might be helpful to you if you're chosen to serve on the Court of Appeals?
Sure. Well, first of all, it was very similar to what I find I do as a district court judge and what I know I would do as an appellate judge. I saw a lot of different legal issues every day. And some days I thought, gosh, can I just do the same thing today I did yesterday? But those days were few and far between. I also had to work with a variety of people from a variety of backgrounds, explain the law, make decisions that were equitable and fair, whether it was regarding an employment matter, did we do the right thing, do we need to do something different, drafting policies. All of those things were a different challenge every day and required a lot of work. Sometimes in the evenings and after hours, if I had to meet with people that worked a different shift than I did, all of which I understand the Court of Appeals would also take that same kind of dedication. And so I feel that my experience there prepared me well for making that transition. Thank you.
Commissioner Spies.
Good morning, Judge Reyes.
Good morning.
I appreciate your bringing up your involvement in court and bar-related commissions and endeavors. And how does that contribute to your education as a judge?
Sure. Well, sometimes, when you are in your own district, you think, well, this is the way everyone does things, right? What I've learned on being in these commissions is that there are different things that are done differently in different areas, some of which I've learned would be helpful in the practice within our own district. And I've taken some good ideas back. I've also been able to share some of the things that we do in the 4th Judicial District. We have a very collegial bar. We get along very well. And I think that because of that, we have a lot of good discussions and share a lot of good policies that I've been able to take across the state. But it's been invaluable to get to work with people from other areas across the state, and certainly helps my commitment to the entire state of Iowa. So thank you for the question.
Commissioner Hanson.
Thank you so much for applying.
Thank
Judge.
you.
If you had a case that required you to learn about a specific industry that you were not familiar with or subject matter, how would you go about learning?
Well, first of all, if it was in a case and there was information within the case, then I would certainly look at whatever the record had for me to review there. I'll be honest, I've Googled a few things in my day just to learn a little bit more. Sometimes when lawyers practice in a certain area or they've lived a case for so long, they can kind of jump off at a certain point that, I'll be honest, might be a little above my own. And so, I'm not afraid to go and learn. And very often I've said to attorneys, don't be afraid to bring this down to my level, to a real basic level here, because I want to make sure I fully understand your issue, and I don't want you to assume anything, and I don't want to assume anything either. So doing my homework and good preparation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Stanger?
Thank you. Good morning, Judge. Thank
morning.
you for your application. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you.
I'm struggling with my question because I'm fascinated by your Leadership Iowa experience.
Oh.
Right from the southwest
Yeah.
corner. I'm sure you had a great experience there.
I did.
So maybe this can be a choose your own adventure, because I also, the other question I wanted to talk to you about was your comment about the role of the independent courts.
Mhm.
We heard today from Judge Bauer about the importance of judicial independence.
Mhm.
So how about you can pick whichever one you'd like to answer or talk about.
Well, I will very quickly say that Leadership Iowa was an amazing experience. So let me put my plug in there. I learned so much. It's a monthly, we go and learn in different communities and different topics monthly. I learned a lot about education and healthcare and schools. It really was an amazing experience. That has certainly broadened my personal knowledge and horizons, and I really would recommend it. I met a lot of great people. Independence in the courts is also really important to me because every time we turn on the TV, right, we're hearing pundits talk about, this or that decision of the United States Supreme Court, and I think that does permeate what the general public thinks and the confidence they have in courts. So that's why I think it's very important to not only have things like this where everybody can come and watch and see what's going on, as awkward and uncomfortable as it'll be sometimes for someone to say, hey, I'll be watching you. It's a little nerve-wracking, but it's really important too. And for me, getting out and being a good member of my community, it's funny when people find out that I'm a judge, they're like, oh, you're a judge? We're supposed to have a certain look, or maybe I'm supposed to wear the robe all the time, I'm not sure. But, I think that in itself makes people feel confident that we are normal people in your community. Well, maybe I should use air quotes. Normal people in your community is the same. So thank you for the questions.
Thank you, Judge.
Commissioner Picklap?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Semmelroth?
What insight would you take with you to the appellate court from your time presiding over jury trials?
Gosh, that a lot can go wrong in a short amount of time, right? It's funny when you look at a transcript, you think, wow, they just did everything so perfectly. But what you don't get in the transcript is all the stuff that led up to that, and how a juror, are we going to send the sheriff out to get a juror that didn't show up? I mean, there's so many things that you can think, oh, I am going to have a solid hour to prepare and calm myself. But no, though that hour gets taken up very quickly with a host of issues or new employees, and we have a lot of new folks working with jury trials in the 4th Judicial District. There's through the clerk's offices and that. At one of my last jury trials, I found, unfortunately for them, I was the most experienced person with jury instruction or jury selection and jury issues. But, there's just a lot that can go wrong quickly. Good preparation ahead of time does help that. I always have my rule book open to the jury rule to address any issues that do come up, because, there's a certain aspect, especially in civil cases, that you can be prepared for. You've had a lot of pretrials and the issues are kind of fairly laid out. But sometimes in criminal cases, the defense attorney might hold things a little close to the vest because they don't want their strategy to be revealed. So, you just have to kind of be prepared for anything, remain calm in that. And from that aspect, I feel well prepared and could definitely bring that experience with me to the appellate courts. Thank you for the question.
Commissioner Roberts?
Judge, I think you mentioned that there are no other judges on the Court of Appeals from the 4th District.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about the importance of geographical diversity from your perspective?
Sure. Well, as I've learned from being on statewide commissions, sometimes people do things a little differently in different areas. And you can think your way is the best way, your way or the highway. But what you learn when you have an open mind and you get out and experience the practice of law in other areas is that sometimes there are good ideas that you have that you can share with others, and sometimes there are good ideas that you can gain from others. I always enjoy talking at judges' conferences with some of my colleagues from different areas to see how they do things and how we do things. So I do think that is important. In regards to confidence in the courts, I think that when you are from communities across the state, I think regular people tend to have a little more confidence in what they see and hear versus if everyone were from Des Moines, wouldn't we all just be able to look and say, oh, those Des Moines people, they're different than us. But when it's a court made of people from across Iowa, from rural communities, from bigger towns and cities, and from a wide variety of backgrounds, I think it does help with the public confidence in the decisions that they make. Thank you.
Commissioner Schnur?
No questions.
Thank you. Thank you.
Commissioner Hoiting?
Just one comment. Leadership Iowa, class 37, best class ever.
Ah.
Thank you.
20 best class ever.
No comment. No questions.
Commissioner Hoig?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Parrish?
I want to go back to your career as in the county attorney's office in Potawatomi County. I want to talk about what they say is the most powerful tool that a prosecutor or a person working on civil cases would have, and that is discretion. How did you exercise that or share with your colleagues how you exercised it when you were working in that office?
Well, you kind of go in, and I had this discussion actually with Commissioner Marquardt when we were talking, is that, very often when you're analyzing a case and people come to you and say, this happened, or, oh, this is the paper I got in the mail, dun, 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 you have that time where you are really analyzing it. And you have to be able to analyze the weaknesses in your case as well as the strengths. What's great, what isn't great, so that in the end, you can make a good decision about whatever's gone wrong. Is it worth the resources going forward? Do we have the resources going forward? Or is this a case where we need to say, we made a mistake and we need to make that mistake right? I think, that has been invaluable experience for me on the court because I have a lot of equity type experience just by virtue of working within an organization and making good decisions that other people then rely on to make good decisions. And so it's kind of you can either build on good or build on bad, and I hope that my experience has been that, we avoided some bigger messes because we made good decisions from the outset.
Well, thank you. Thanks for your application also.
Thank you.
Commissioner Henderson?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Marquardt?
In your application, you also talked about how in your time at the county attorney's office, you had to learn how to distinguish legal decisions from political ones.
Sure.
Can you talk about how those skills might help you on the Court of Appeals?
Sure. Some issues that people are bringing before you, maybe there's a secret mission that they're trying to accomplish within this legal petition or four corners. What's really clear to me, always in looking at these cases, is that my job is to look at just the issues that are here in this petition, that are presented by the facts, and apply the law to that. Just to be clear, sometimes those political versus legal decisions weren't always bad or negative as maybe that connotation or it presents that connotation. Sometimes it was just, I want to get this done and I'm going to get it done however I want, and without the burden of a public meeting or without having to give notices of things. So some of those weren't necessarily bad. They were trying to be efficient. Sometimes when supervisors get on or when business people get on boards of supervisors, they realize the county government is very inefficient and they're going to fix that. But there's a little thing called the law and procedure and all of those little nasty, things that we have to take care of. And so, working with folks and kind of bringing them along into how, government business. So it's transparent, so it's in the public, so people have confidence in the decisions that we follow those procedures, I think is really important.
Thank you.
We have time for one quick question. Commissioner Pearson?
No question.
Commissioner Chase?
Thank you. How does your experience on the bench translate to reviewing cases in the Court of Appeals? Would you look at that differently than someone who's not had the judicial experience that you've had?
You know, it's a good question because you kind of are who you are, and you don't always realize that, you know, you would have done this differently if you weren't who you are. I tend to have probably a greater understanding of what the district court goes through, what a judge goes through, whether it's a jury trial day where, you know, here's the transcript, boy, it looks like everything went fine, but then you find out, you know, oh shoot, you know, we had this conversation off the record about what offer was made to a defendant, or, you know, about a particular pretrial, but then we didn't make a record of it. So while that record looks fine in and of itself, there may be things that are missing from that. So, you know, having that experience and understanding, I think, you know, has enriched me, and certainly I hope I would take that to enrich the Court of Appeals as well.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you. We are out of time, but we
Thank you.
appreciate your application and wish you the best.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Judge.
Mhm.